Hello everyone, and before we start off, do not adjust your mobiles or your TV set or wherever you're watching. You are not getting a case of double vision. This is a tag team special brought to you by Hannibal and Ren, and we are going to review Wonder Woman 1984.
Before we start with today's review, the most important question of all is that we have to discuss that whether watching it in a movie theater or watching it at home in a streaming services, that is of course HBO Max, which one is better? So what do you think about it, Ren?
Well, I believe this is a proper movie hall kind of movie. So with all the surround sound system and the production of the movie, I think it's better off if you view it in a movie hall, irrespective of what you feel about the movie. Because at the end of the day, watching it from an app or downloading it from some other website or something, it's very different rather than the feel that you get in a movie hall. So I would say opt for the movie hall.
Definitely, because in both of our cases, we have watched it in the movie hall, and then of course watching a movie after this COVID experience after a long time, it was amazing. And of course, we have also seen it in our TV screens too. And I'm going to tell you guys, and of course, to HBO Max and Warner Media theaters are awesome.
And also, you can't watch a movie of this scale in a laptop per se, because or a mobile phone, because I don't know, you just don't get the feel, and it feels very weird, and your attention span won't even be there for the entire movie. So that's there.
The opening scene, it was a breathtaking experience, of course, because number one, it's been shot in IMAX cameras, of course, as you can see it while watching the movie. And of course, the opening scene shows us the younger Diana, and of course, we are back to Themyscira again, the place we all love. And we see the Themyscirian games, exactly the one which we missed in the first Wonder Woman movie, is it not?
Yeah, that's very true. And also, I would like to add is that the IMAX experience, the starting opening scene, kind of reminded me of Dark Knight, the opening scene of the initial the bank heist, and there was the Dark Knight Rises opening scene as well, that entire plane heist. So it reminded me of that regarding the grand scale of it, and that's why I would say watching this in the movie hall with a banger of an opening scene, what a great start. Now, speaking about Wonder Woman 1, tonally, this movie is very different, Wonder Woman 84, if you compare it with the first movie. This one, regarding the color palette, it follows the likes of Birds of Prey and, of course, Aquaman, because it's bright, it's colorful, doesn't really have that dark, somber, grayish blue tinge of the earlier Snyder movies, Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman, or just not Justice League though.
Still better than Birds of Prey, huh?
And also, one thing I've noticed is that there is a lot of comparison and a lot of similarities between the first two Christopher Reeve Superman movies, especially the Richard Donner versions, because there's lots of emphasis on what Wonder Woman truly is, and here she is more of a compassionate character rather than a warrior. Even in the first Superman movie, Superman was more like a Boy Scout, someone who's doing his thing for the greater good. And here, that's what I felt. There was lots of things similar with the Chris Reeves movie. And another thing I would like to add is that, like I said, this movie, although it's tonally different, but it does not seem forced. Like, it's a natural progression, exactly. I feel, from the previous movie. It's not like there was some studio interference, for example. Yeah, there was no studio interference, so it feels kind of like a natural progression. And what do you, Hannibal?
Of course, and the things I've noticed out here, because as you have mentioned, that it had that Christopher Reeves kind of a feel here, and of course, as you can see, the scenes in the 1984 scenes out there. You know, I get it. A lot of us, we might be saying that the superhero movies right now are more advanced, talking about the storyline, whatever it is. But looking at the 1984 setting, they actually captured it really well. You know, it didn't feel like it's something like a modern day kind of a scenario, and it was amazing. I really like that.
Now, coming to the action scenes, so I would want to point this out that it's not a full-blown action blockbuster superhero movie, something like Aquaman or even BVS per se. Here, I would say the action scenes are there, but it's not really in the forefront. Even during the execution of the set scenes, Wonder Woman is not she's not really the warrior that we saw in BVS or even the first Wonder Woman movie. She's very much like a compassionate character, and even throughout the movie, she is helping out people. She's very graceful in her movements. She's not like a full blown Xena the warrior princess kind of thing going on with her. So that's one thing I pointed out, and I wish there was more of that more warrior take no bullshit kind of attitude that she has.
But yeah, that's right. What he said about the mall fighting scene. Then again, talking about the next action scene, I believe it was in Egypt, right? Is it Cairo, right? Yeah. So out there, as we seen most of it, or you can say like few of it, anyways, in the trailers and of course the release clips. I feel it could have been done a bit more into it. It was good. I would say it was really good. But that scene when she tried to save those kids, when Steve launched that missile. Spoiler, I'm so sorry. But that scene looked like the slow-mo was used into it, but for some that looked a little cheesy kind of a move, out there.
Exactly, and also whenever any action scene is involved, you would notice that a lot of innocent people are there as well. A lot of innocent people are there as well. So she is not really being selfish and destructive. Something like steal. And we're not going there. So again, she is helping people. At the same time, she is doing a thing. So that's there. But I want maybe it's not really devoid of action like say Superman Returns, but it has its moments. But I would have loved it if there was more action.
True. And I think after the carrier scene, we moved up directly to the White House scene, right? Yeah, in the White House scene, of course, again, it was Maxwell Lord and, of course, the other White House president security guards whom she fights with them. The best thing about that fight scene was like until when Kristen Wiig arrives as Barbara Minerva, not yet Cheetah, of course. I love that fight scene again, but then again, the same thing. She was playing way too defensive. Maybe she was her friend, or she was trying to protect the other guards, right? So yeah, but I still feel like it's a little defensive. Like I wanted to see that usual Wonder Woman kind of a thing out there. What about
same thing? I think this is one thing we can agree on this movie.
I can say that, yeah. And then moving on to the last fight sequence, and before I would say anything about it, I want Ren to give us advice before me. Okay.
The last part, I'm sorry to say, but it was a big letdown. I do not know what's up with Wonder Woman movies and third act, which gets kind of let down, because I remember watching the first Wonder Woman movie and it was going great till the third act started. But here during the movie, I kind of felt it was not really living up to what it was being packaged as. I mean, I found it a little underwhelming, but again, the action scenes, I just wanted more the visceral energy of Cheetah and Diana, although we know she's a friend, but and also that last bit between Maxwell Lord and Diana. I would say this is one of those few times where in fact the villain kind of saves the day, because it's something like Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. Again, I'm so sorry, spoiler alert. Then again, yes, a lot of cheesy dialogues. I mean, they should have just cut down on the cheese and maybe could have made it a little bit, I wouldn't say realistic, but a little bit more straightforward. What about you?
I would say, come on, like, I won't totally disagree in this point, but then again, I believe, yes, those cheesy dialogues and all the other stuff would have worked for the audience of like when Christopher Reeve Superman came up, maybe that audience.
I mean, I could say that this bit could have very well could have fit really well in the CW universe.
Now, talking about the characters out here, let's start off with, of course, the magnificent, the wonderful, the amazing Gal Gadot as Diana Prince and Wonder Woman. The role of Diana Prince in the movie, see, I anyways love the character, but I'm not going to be biased out here. See, I loved her as Diana Prince in the scenes which she was there, except for the scenes where she was with Steve. The reason, because she looked vulnerable, Maybe she had her reasons, but it looked vulnerable. She was like, Steve, I don't want to lose you, Steve, and other stuff. I understand. Steve was acting more mature than Wonder Woman. That's strange, right? But then again, as Wonder Woman, amazing. She looked great in that suit. She didn't have the shield and the sword this time, of course, but she used her lasso. But of course, her lasso acted in the mysterious way this time. But okay, we can ignore that part. That was really good. And that's what my take on Wonder Woman, and I believe Gal Gadot. She was amazing. I just love her. Steve Trevor. Now, we all were worried. I won't say worried. We were all thinking about how Steve comes back. Wishing Stone. Spoiler alert again. We'll talk about the stone later on. But then again, of course, just Steve's return made some sense. It was not like this, he came out of nowhere. His conscience was on another person. So that made sense. Yeah, the only thing, of course, Diana was seeing him as Steve. That's why Patty Jenkins, everyone wanted us to see him as Steve. That was smart. I like the scene when he goes to the mirror and he sees the other person and he says, this guy is a
something
good guy.
like source code.
Source code.
Something like source code.
Good reference.
I would love to see more of Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, perhaps not as someone who's still hung up on Diana Prince, but someone who's fleshed out as his own character. Just
Maybe
like Wonder Woman, the first one movie.
First one, exactly. He was really quick.
Exactly.
Moving ahead, we do have Maxwell Lord, right, by Pedro Pascal. Now, of course, we have been familiarized with Pedro Pascal and we've seen amazing movies and series of Pedro Pascal. He did an amazing job, amazing, because the comic book Maxwell Lord was late. You have to agree, guys. It was pretty late. I found it late.
I would say Maxwell Lord in the comic books, I wouldn't say much because I haven't read much of Maxwell Lord, but then he wasn't really an interesting character. I mean, he was just a villain. He was just a villain. But one thing I loved is that Pedro Pascal has, again, he's having a gala time with this role. I mean,
he enjoyed it.
He reminded me of I think Christopher Walken's character in Batman Returns. A little bit of Bruce Almighty, and the way he was having fun with his character and he was going all out, almost like Tom Hardy's Venom. Like a typical 80s bombastic, loud villain, just like the movie being loud, bombastic and colorful and all over the place.
This scene in the movie actually got me when he first started, like, life's good, can't be better.
And now, finally, to
Barbara Minerva, of course. Kristen Wiig, amazing actress. When she first came, when I saw her, it actually felt like, okay, she's that lady who doesn't get any importance, kind of stuff. And of course, she wanted to be like Diana, right? And her, when she was Barbara Minerva, when she was fighting, remember that guy who was trying to bully her and she faced her again, and at that moment you can feel her, humanity, losing her humanity at that moment. So the thing is, Kristen Wiig as Barbara Minerva was amazing. Kristen Wiig's Barbara Minerva, getting to know her powers, using it, was amazing. Kristen Wiig's Cheetah was something. I won't say it's not amazing. She looked good.
I think Cheetah shouldn't have been there in this movie because this was Maxwell Lord was the villain, and again he was a sympathetic villain because again with him wanting to prove to his son that he is still a capable father.
Even if you remove her,
exactly.
I thought after the White House scene, even if they were doing something, even after the White House scene, even if we don't get to see Kristen Wiig, it was still okay,
I mean, I understand why they had to do it because Cheetah is a classic Wonder Woman character, someone who can go toe to toe with her. I felt that maybe Cheetah could have been saved for the other future movies or so. I just felt it was a little rushed. And her story arc kind of reminded me of Jamie Foxx's Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2, being that bumbling person.
Lastly, I think that's all for Cheetah. But lastly, of course, we got a glimpse of, as you can see, not just a glimpse, we got to see
Linda Carter.
Exactly. Of course, you get
the original Wonder Woman.
You get to see her in between. Of course, you see her eyes wearing the golden armor, Asteria, of course. At that moment, I was like, that's Linda Carter. I knew it. And of course, in the end, when you get to see her, I believe she's going to come back because there's a scene where Wonder Woman says that she found the armor. She was looking out for her. She found the armor, but not her. So, and she's there, right? We saw in the end, she's there. So maybe she comes back in the third movie, maybe? Because, I don't know.
If there's a third movie.
If there's a third movie. Coming up with the next segment, or you can say the next part, we get to see Wonder Woman flying, finally. I know a lot of people are saying like this was Geoff John's idea, whatever it is, of course. Whatever the guy was, he did had some good ideas, I could say.
And this is equivalent to the trend scene in the first movie. I mean, I did feel really awesome when I saw Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, just trying to get a balance and
Sure.
just trying to fly, and then there's Trevor's words, just nice in the mind, and it's really and really flying and like it's flying.
But in here, I know many of you might disagree, saying that it might not give you the same feel as a friend, but into the moment you see, right? Because few moments before, Steve, she renounces her wish, and of course she loses Steve, and she flies off and she hears this voice, you know. And if you pay attention in the scene, you will feel it, you know. You get the feel, and of course the soundtrack. I forgot the name of the soundtrack, but that same soundtrack used in the X-Men Days of Future Past, the first trailer.
I didn't know that.
Okay, it's Sons of. I'm forgetting it, guys. You check it out. Okay, I'll make sure to like at least put the soundtrack name below.
Comparing Wonder Woman 1 and Wonder Woman 84. I want you to tell me this.
Really, Venus after that. See, Wonder Woman 1 was like we didn't know what to expect. Watching Wonder Woman, it blew our minds. We were triggered for the French scene, stopping the bullet. The moment she said, "That's what I have to do."
I think the first Wonder Woman movie was culturally significant as well. First,
True.
led this was around 800 million.
Could have earned more,
Could
but
have
then
earned
again,
more.
DC's reputation.
Could have earned more, and these the previous movies that get like go well. This one was the amazing. I mean, I think it was intense scene. So many of those amazing moments.
And just to tell you guys, even though people like, even though other studios like Marvel Studios, even if people, movies like Captain Marvel made a lot of money, but they didn't look up to it the way they did.
Wonder Woman resonated with a lot of people. A lot of people. Wonder Woman 84 had a lot to live up to, and I did feel that, although totally different, it was very different. It didn't feel forced. I felt that it has such lofty expectations that it would have been somewhat, I wouldn't say impossible, but a little difficult to actually attain that. I was very let down by that, and at one point I was really cringing hard with some of the dialogues. I mean, the last bit saying, I mean, I understand what it's trying to do, but then the last those dialogues, I was next season I was just screaming that as the bit, and yeah, and I'm a fan of movies which are, they try to be different and it's totally different and everything, but I did feel that at points that this movie did flounder a lot. It did slip many a times, and what do you have to say?
Not as well Ren explains it. I like the movie. I like the movie a lot. And of course, it has its flaws. Not the way I expected. Of course, it could have been very emotional. Of course, I was getting that feel that I might. I cried when I watched Joker. I did. Joker, I had that feeling. I cried in Logan. Even I cried in Endgame also. But I felt like if they would have played their cards right, played planned properly, there were moments in this movie, even showing Maxwell Lord's relationship with his son, Steve Trevor again dying, and whatever the whole scene. I mean, there would have been like 3-4 moments where it would have broken down. Literally, you would have at least felt emotional,
It just felt too corny for me at times. That's it. I mean, they could have made that a little better, but that's what I feel. Please don't crucify me.
Exactly. So we all have our own opinions, right? That's what. Music, score, of course, it's Hans Zimmer. So we have no right to complain about it, because in a movie like The Dark Phoenix, even if we hated it, we love his score. But yeah, but there was this one thing.
It really got our ears.
Maybe all fans, maybe all DC fans, it got it. It was The Beautiful Lie. In the end, I believe that song is the final line. It was the same music, or you can say same score we got to hear in the beginning of Batman v Superman. Not only in the beginning, but in the Martha scene too.
Final verdict for Wonder Woman 84. I would say I was a little disappointed because the first movie was simply fantastic and it was a movement, I remember. And like, I did know that it had a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure. And I'm not saying that they did not deliver. It's just that it was, I found it a little underwhelming. As like I've said, at points I did feel that I was cringing while watching the movie. Some of the dialogues were really cheesy. The the action, I mean, I'm not gonna say that I wanted like a full blown action movie, but it did feel a little boring. I would say that the movie started off really well with the opening scene. It really got you up high, but then slowly, I won't say it's a crash and burn scenario. It just went downhill, and then at points it will go up, then again it will come down. That's what I felt. It just felt a big letdown for me, and it's not really a bad movie. It's not really a great movie. It's just a movie. But I would say that it is one of DC's one of the best movies of DC. But that's not really saying much because DC has misfired quite a few times, and while fans and critics are a little divided on DC, but yeah, that's what I have to say. What about you, Hannibal?
I would say it wasn't a complete misfire. Because, first thing, the third act of the first movie, I didn't like it that much. I didn't like the complete third act of this movie, but maybe the conversation between Pedro Pascal and, of course, Gal Gadot, or maybe Wonder Woman and Maxwell Lord in the end, there was a deeper meaning to it, actually. This guy would disagree, I know that, but still. But then again, I would say this movie it's not a bad movie, of course. It's not a great movie. I believe in this COVID times, like after returning back to the theaters,
But you should watch it.
Exactly, returning to the theaters and watching this movie was a great experience, great feel out there. And of course, I'm not saying if you don't like the movie, you don't have to say that like okay, that like it is good or something. But then again, we all have our own opinions. But I would say that this movie is really good because it is far better than Birds of Prey. So in the end, like Ren has given his verdict. I would say the movie is good, really good. But then again, it's better to watch in a movie theater, of course. If you have an opportunity, do watch it in the movie theaters. If you have HBO Max, okay, still watch it in the movie theaters. Watch in the HBO Max later on. If you don't have HBO Max, then definitely movie theaters. So this was our, or you can say both of ours, view on the movie. I believe this is what we believe about it. Of course, we both don't agree on everything. But
hey, that at the end of the day, we just wanted to give you two opposing views, and at the end of the day, it's up to you what you feel about the movie.
Exactly.
This is more like a review and a discussion.
So that's what it is. So until next time, this is Hannibal. This is Ren. Stay tuned for our more videos, and we are